I welcome all of you to this session on a book which I have translated and which my friend Mr. Laxmikant Deshmukh has written. The title of the book is Dancing on the Vault of Death. This book is categorized as sports fiction, a category which is pioneered by Mr. Laxmikant Deshmukh. No one else, to the best of my knowledge, has written stories based on sports persons and athletes in Marathi, and he is the first one to attempt this new genre, and we are going to launch this book today. Can we get copies of the book? I welcome Vishal Soni sir, CEO Vishwakarma Prakashan.
That's okay, sir. Easy. Come. Yeah. Sir,
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be on this platform to launch Mr. Laxmikant Deshmukh's foray into sports fiction. We've all been great audiences of biographies, autobiographies of sports people, both as books in the written medium or also as films. You know, we know Bollywood has a lot of movies, biopics on sports persons. But what really pulled me to this particular event is sports fiction. Now it can always be argued, you know, fiction such hai ki fact such hai. For me, fact is nothing but dramatized fiction. That's what it is. So reading about sports people, their emotional challenges, and the particular, very, very peculiar emotional challenges that every different sport triggers in a human being brought out so beautifully in this compilation of 10 beautiful gems, 10 short stories on sports people and their traumas with real-time challenges of sports. It is a different kind of a genre, and I may also say coming of age kind of a genre. So it's excellent, sir. And because it was written in Marathi, it did not reach so much of the audience spectrum that we have in India, the readership spectrum. So I'm so happy that it has been translated. This simply proves that, again, language is no barrier. If there is a reader, the story will reach the reader in whatever format. So again, a round of applause to them for both the original writing and the translation effort out there. Writing is a tedious process, and writing fiction is even more, because you have to really stimulate your imagination. I, as a fiction writer, I know I write literary fiction. Prisoners of Secrets, Road to Abana, my latest, is also about an emotional trauma, very much like the sports people in his storybook. It's all about fighting the odds. And sports is a field where you really learn to fight the odds, be it on the field or off the field. So it's a literary piece of work, and those of you who are sports buffs but would like to know how sports people have learned from the field, from their sport, to take on challenges in life, pick this book up. This is definitely going to do us a lot. Now, bringing a book out into public is not a single person's effort. It is a culmination of many, many people. You need a translator, you need a publishing house like Vishwakarma, and for people like me who are also in the literary fiction field, we need literary agents. Like, I'm very happy to introduce Lalita Ravindran, my literary agent, and also one who works with Vishwakarma. Both of us are Vishwakarma authors. So it all brings us all together. Who would have thought that an author like Mr. Deshmukh and an author like me would come together on a common platform like this? This is what the beauty of writing and literary work can do for us. And I'm honestly very, very honored to be on this platform. And I have read the stories. I'd like to start with the first story, where there's a story of a pole vault performer, Shivani. Her travels, her challenges have been so beautifully translated with the same ethos which was presented, I'm sure, in the Marathi version, has been brought out so beautifully in the English version. So they say many things get lost in translation, but I'd like to differ on this particular account. I think it is a very fair justice done to the original ethos of the book. And I, as a writer, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So we can carry this function forward. We're going to have a conversation, as I understand. So we will be very happy to share our thoughts as we go through the day. Thank you so much, and congratulations once again. Yes, thank you.
Now let us begin talking about this book which is launched today. It is titled Dancing on the Vault of Death. It is taken from the first story of this book, and our chief guest has already talked about that story. We have to go back to the genre, the new genre that Mr. Deshmukh has been very passionate about. This book is categorized as sports fiction. So I would like to ask Mr. Deshmukh, what do you think about the concept of this new genre of sports fiction?
Thank you very much. I can say with conviction that this is the new genre of sport fiction I have started in Marathi and probably in Indian literature. We have a lot of biographies, autobiographies of sports person, athletes in various languages, English and others, but rarely we have tried to capture the emotions and up and downs of sports athletes, because they are also persons like you and me. If literature is the mirror of society, which include politicians, which include artists, and above all the common persons, their plight, then why not we should try to depict the emotions, up and downs, fall, their dejection, their rejection, their defeat, their other emotions. So from that angle, we should have such stories with human angle, because basically sport persons also are human being, though they are public figure due to their excellence in the sports. So with that thinking, I started writing the stories. There are some trigger points by which I started the stories. And for your information, I can say that my first ever published story in Marathi is Brother Fixation, which is included in this book also. It is between the hidden rivalry of between Sachin Tendulkar, Sunil Gavaskar and Gundappa Vishwanath. Because Sunil's sister is married to Gundappa Vishwanath, and she worshipped her brother so much as a father figure. So it is called Brother Fixation. And she scolded her husband even after hitting century and winning for India, because her brother's Sunil's world record is shadowed by Gundappa Vishwanath's a classic inning. So that Brother Fixation, that thing I have captured. So sport fiction is a new genre in Indian literature, and I can say consciously with conviction that I have tried to start this by writing nearly 30 stories two books in Marathi and one book in English. So this is a new genre I have tried to start.
Now, before we go to the second question, I want to continue this topic about brother fixation. Now, it looks like a psychological term, just as we talk about mother fixation.
Father fixation.
Yes, he's talking about brother fixation. My question is, what is the emphasis in this short story? Is it biographical or psychological? And I would like both the speakers to respond to this.
Okay, first I will explain. Brother fixation, I enjoyed the word instead of father fixation. When a daughter normally worship her father and a son worship her mother, so it is called father fixation and mother fixation in psychology terms. In this case, Sunil's brother, sister, she wife of Gundappa Vishwanath, worship her brother so much. So it just like father figure, she look upon her great brother Sunil Gavaskar as her inspiration and idol. So it is a sort of father fixation, but being a brother, it is called brother fixation, and it go to such level that she forget to praise her husband's classy century and winning of Indian team against Australia, and she scolded merely because her brother's world record is shadowed by her husband's that century. So this emotion, these psychological aspects I try to depict. It is basically sport related. This happen only because of sports nature. So a story, sport picture is that which happen only in field of sports and in the life of sports person, because all those emotions, all those happenings are due to sports arena.
So I would just like to add on here that as a pioneer of emotional intelligence training in India, I've trained over 70,000 people. I'd like to tell you that each one of us is a walking psychological disorder. I'm putting it very bluntly. In either a very mild way or in a very extreme way, all of us are trapped in human psychology because of the flood of emotions you and I experience from the time we wake up in the morning till we retire to bed at night. We are all products of our emotional traumas, emotional upheavals, emotional excitement, emotional exhilaration. Everything boils down to emotion. And why is fiction so endearing to readers? Because we like to see the characters go through similar emotional issues that we go through in our real life. And we like to get that vicarious pleasure when they are able to conquer their emotional disorders and come out triumphant. And in all walks of life, there are enough emotional troubles. However, what gets portrayed more are the emotions on a sporting field. We get to see that. I mean, now you see the World Cup is going on, you see sledging happening, and all that is nothing but emotional outbursts. So emotions are far more active and volatile on sports fields. And when Mr. Deshmukh has picked up the genre, he cannot escape portraying the emotions of sports people. So if you look at some of the books that I have written, for example, my title, The Prisoners of Secrets, it's about should partners have secrets between them, even if they are married for many years. What is more courageous, keeping a secret a lifetime or revealing the secret? What requires more courage? Or for example, my latest book, Road to Abana, is a single woman's story of going back to her house in Pakistan, which she was forced to abscond, during the partition. So it is her single journey. You can imagine the trauma in that journey. So whether it is a brother fixation or any other psychological disorder or anything, you will see plenty of it where the human relationship with a sport or the human relationship with any other occupation is becoming the hero of a story.
Yeah, well
so in your book also, the hero is actually the emotional challenge of the sports person, and how that person's sport training is helping them to manage these emotional disorders. And that is why these stories remain with you for a long time, because You and I are also going through those emotional phases in our life. It's simply a mirroring, as he said, literature mirrors society and vice versa. It is so true. It's all an emotional canvas. I mean, even now while you're sitting here, there are some emotions being triggered. Maybe some of us are thinking of what's happening back home. There's an emotional trigger. So it's all of that.
I would like to combine the next two questions. The first question is, sports fiction and sports films approach the element of fact and fiction differently. Do you agree? That is one question. But I have the next question tied to it. How far is your approach to the content of the story, I am what I am, in this book, different from the Hindi film Rashmi Rocket? Is the difference mainly due to their medium?
Not much, because sports films and sport fiction, basically they try to depict the life stories of sports person. But when you refer the Rashmi Rocket, it touched the subject of gender test, which I also tried in my story that you have mentioned, I am what I am. Both deal with that gender test, which is very humiliating for any female athletes, because of hormonal imbalance or the level of androgen is more in some females, so they are failed in gender test, and that does not make that woman female male, but precisely gender test do that, and they stamp that they are not female, they are not woman. So self-identity crisis of such women arises. So in Rashmi Rocket they have touched very superficially because of commercial consumption, because it is a board subject. But in my this story, I tried to depict how gender test took place, how she was devastated, that Duti Chanda, and she fight against that injustice with help of one psychologist in the arbitrary court, and she won it. So that is one thing. There is one another story in this book. I will be born again. Again, refer to this the same gender test. There is one athlete in India, Shanti Soundararajan. She tried to commit suicide because of she failed gender test, and her 2 medals, silver and gold medal, they have stripped up. So she tried to commit suicide, but she saved miraculously. And there also the problem is the same. So basically, when you see the difference between film and sports fiction, in films normally films are of the sports icon, and they try to glorify that sports icon. If you see in the Saina films, the film tried to so that she is a super sports person. She, no doubt she is that, but her journey, her up and downs, her many weak moments, they never tried to capture it. So films in Indian films are basically superficial. They did not depict the true life story of the sport person. But in my sport, I tried to that project those human angles in my story. So that is difference between my stories and the films, Hindi films, sport film in general.
If I may just add a little bit to this. Whenever a book is adapted onto screen, there are some internal challenges which the director, producer have to face. Now, in a book, you can devote 10 pages to an internal conflict of the hero or the heroine.
And in the film, they have to cater to the common denominator.
Exactly.
So they can't depict the bold themes.
Exactly.
In
like
my films, I have that lady, she has self-doubt that she has bisexual nature, she has lesbian relationship. That is very difficult to depict on the silver skin. So there is limitations, and basically all Indian films so far, they are hero or heroine worship films.
So in his story that I am born,
Rashmi Rocket, or any other film we can say, Dhoni or Sachin Tendulkar biography, documentary, they are also that they are sports icon. They did not touch their weak points.
So coming back to your story, I am born again, is a story of this athlete who has to undergo a gender, determination test, and it's a very traumatic experience. So there are at least 2 pages devoted to her internal conflict, what she's going through. And you can imagine if this is to be on celluloid, they cannot bring out the intensity of this internal conflict unless they bring in some more external conflicts. So that would be the difference because of the medium, you know.
Right.
So that is a challenge that filmmakers always have, and you will always find this difference between a book that you have read and you have
But,
loved and then the film
But the
adaptation.
great director can show those emotions up 10
Yeah.
page story, even one scene also.
True.
But they try to avoid those things because they feel that grey spot, a sport icon, make him less iconic. That is the difficulty.
This question
We have witnessed an interesting and very innovative conversation today. I would like to thank our PLF guests, the beautiful Lata Ghulani, the intriguing
Before we conclude,
Laxmikant.
just I say
Yes.
one or two lines and then we can conclude. I know we have a positive time, but basically by today's book launch, I want to say to all my esteemed audience that this is a new genre, sports genre. You can read these books, Marathi and English also, both are available with Vishwakarma publications, and see what is the difference between these stories and other normal stories. You can make the difference and you may try to appreciate it. So with as a writer, I request my audience to try this new genre by reading the book, and if you like, tell me. You don't like, also tell me, so I can improve in next sport stories. I thank Vishwakarma Publications and this Pune Literature Festival for giving the opportunity. I also thank Lataji for launching the book, and my translator and my guru, friend philosopher guide Dr. Salunke for what is his sanction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you very
declare that this session is over. Thank you.
Thank you.